I was halfway through repairing a crooked kitchen drawer when my phone started buzzing. An unfamiliar number. Morning sunlight striped the floor through the blinds. My wife, Jenna, stood at the counter slicing apples for a pie we had promised to bring to my mother's later. Everything about the moment felt safe. Normal. Then I answered. "Good afternoon," a pleasant voice said. "Calling to confirm the 4 p.m. anniversary package for Jenna and Simon. Harborview Suite, rose petals champagne, late checkout. Shall I keep the reservation?" The words hit like a hammer. My hand slipped. The screwdriver clattered against tile. "Hello," the voice repeated. I forced my throat to work. "Yeah, that's fine." I hung up. Jenna was still bent over the cutting board, her knife moving in neat, deliberate strokes. She was smiling, but not at me, smiling at the apples, like someone concentrating too hard to think about anything else. "Who was that?" she asked casually. I watched a drop of apple juice run across the counter before I answered. "Put your shoes on." She blinked. "Why?" I smiled as if nothing had changed, as if I were still living in the old life. "You'll see." The drive to the hotel was wrapped in silence. Jenna kept her face turned toward the window. When I asked how her week had been, she answered, "Busy," in that flat way that means don't ask again. I turned the radio up, just enough to drown the quiet. The harbor view looked exactly like the glossy brochures, sitting on the river like it belonged on a postcard. We had always joked it was too fancy for us. I pulled beneath the awning. A bellhop opened Jenna's door. She hesitated, gripping her seatbelt like she wasn't sure she wanted to step into the story unfolding. "Come on," I said. Inside, everything gleamed. The lobby smelled of citrus and money. Glass walls overlooked the water. A grand piano sat in the corner, like some extravagant decoration no one dared touch. I guided Jenna toward the desk, my hand gentle on her shoulder. "Hi," I said to the clerk. "We're here to see our friend. Reservation under Simon Reed. Could you call him and let him know Jenna is waiting in the lobby?" The clerk nodded, professional smile ready. Jenna's hand shot to my wrist. "Don't," she whispered, sharp and pleading. There it was, the moment the ordinary vanished. I withdrew my hand. "Actually, never mind. We'll wait." We sat on a velvet couch that demanded perfect posture. Jenna twisted her fingers together until her knuckles whitened. Minutes passed. The elevator chimed. The doors opened, and Simon, except not Simon, stepped out. It was Caleb, my best friend since 9th grade, dressed in a suit jacket, freshly cut hair, a bouquet of lilies in his hand like the cruelest kind of joke. He saw Jenna first, then me. The color drained from his face. "Hey," he said, his voice cracking. I stood. I didn't swing. I didn't raise my voice. I just looked at the flowers. "Those for me?" I asked. He tried to answer, but couldn't push past the first word. Jenna made a small sound, something caught between breath and break. "Let's not do this here," Caleb said, forcing the smooth tone he used in business meetings. "Let's go somewhere private." "No," I said. "Here is fine." The lobby hushed around us, people pretending not to stare. I slipped my wedding ring from my finger. No drama, just a clean motion. I set it on the glass coffee table between the lilies and a magazine about yachts. "I need 2 things," I said. "The truth and the room number." "Mark." Jenna reached for me, but I shifted, and her hand caught nothing but air. "How long?" I asked Caleb. He swallowed. 6 months. "The conference in Dallas?" His eyes closed. "Yes." "The night my car broke down?" He nodded once. I turned to Jenna. "Do you love him?" Her silence stretched until it felt like a sentence. "I don't know," she whispered. "Do you love me?" Her eyes fixed on the ring lying on the table, as if it might decide for her. "I don't know." I looked at the clerk, who had been performing the art of invisibility with admirable skill. "What room?" I asked. The clerk's gaze flicked from Jenna to me to Caleb, and finally to the lilies, as though they were the least shocking part of the picture. 214, she said softly. "Thank you." I picked up the ring, not to wear, but to feel its weight. I turned to Caleb. "Walk with me." The elevator ride up was crowded with 2 tourists and a bellhop who stared studiously at the floor numbers. Caleb's breathing was too loud. My own didn't feel like mine. Room 214 smelled of roses and stage romance. Champagne on ice. Chocolate-dipped strawberries. 2 robes folded into swan shapes. I stood in the doorway and felt something inside me collapse into a chair. "All right," I said. "Here's how this goes." I took Jenna's phone from her hand. She didn't resist. I opened her messages. She had never turned off the sync that mirrored texts onto our kitchen iPad. That's how I already knew where to search. The thread with Caleb was titled Yoga. Of course it was. I scrolled. Names. Timestamps. Crop photos. The kind of secrecy that thinks it's clever but isn't. I photographed everything with my own phone. Screenshots of dates. Miss you already. Same room next time. He suspects. He thinks I'm tired. Caleb sat down on the edge of the bed, as if it might confess for him. "Mark, listen." "No." I cut him off. "You listen." I pulled a folded paper from my pocket. I had written it a month earlier in a panic I hadn't been able to name. A list. Not revenge, not a plan, just steps to keep myself standing if the floor ever gave way. Don't hit anyone. Get the facts. Don't beg. Don't let them make it your fault. Lead with proof. Call a lawyer, not a friend. Take the dog. I placed the paper on the nightstand beside the swan-shaped towels. "I'm going to do each of these in order," I said, "and I'll do them calmly." Jenna started to cry, first quiet, then deeper. Caleb looked at her like he wanted to be the hero of a story he had already wrecked. "Why didn't you tell me?" I asked him. "You stood at my wedding. We built a business together. I co-signed your lease when your credit was garbage." He rubbed his face like he could wipe the truth away. "I was lonely," he said. "You too looked unshakable." "I don't know, it just happened." "Nothing just happens," I said. "People make choices." I slid my wedding ring into my pocket, handed Jenna's phone back, and stepped away from her touch as if it burned. "I'm going home. You can stay, or you can leave. Don't come back until tomorrow morning." "Mark," Jenna said, reaching. "I won't be there." I moved out of reach. Save your explanations for someone who doesn't know the before. At the door, I paused and looked at Caleb. "One more thing." I pointed at the bouquet. "She's allergic to lilies. They make her sneeze." The elevator carried me down with nothing but my list. I texted my sister, "Can you take Max for a few days?" Max was our dog, the one who always knew when the house was about to weep. I forwarded the screenshots to a new email with a subject line I would never erase. 214. I called a lawyer I never thought I'd need. When I got home, the kitchen still smelled of apples and the life that used to fit. I put the pie in the oven, not because I wanted pie, but because doing one ordinary thing felt like survival. I set the timer, sat at the table, and let my hands shake where nobody could see. Jenna came home after midnight. She didn't turn on any lights. She stood in the doorway like a teenager sneaking in past curfew. "I'm sorry," she said. "For which part?" My voice sounded scraped raw. "For all of it." "That's a lot to cover," I answered. She drew a breath. "I don't recognize myself anymore. I thought he made me feel alive. Really, he just made me feel busy." I stared at the oven clock, counting seconds. "Do you want this marriage?" I asked. "Yes," she said without pause. "I want a way back. I don't know if one exists." I nodded. "Then we do it the hard way, not with shouting, with grown-up work." "What does that mean?" "It means separate keys for a while. It means therapy. It means I stop acting like your guard or your parent. It means you tell me the truth, even when it hurts. And it means I stop shaping my whole identity around your worst moments." She swallowed. "And Caleb," I said, "he's out. He'll get severance that keeps us out of court, but he won't keep the company." She nodded slowly. I handed Caleb his final papers. He tried to deliver a speech. I raised my hand. "You had months for speeches. We're past that now." He left carrying his lilies like trash. The weeks that followed weren't cinematic. There were lawyer visits, counseling sessions, and two people learning to talk without knives. Some days we scraped old wounds open. Some hours we drank coffee in the kitchen and almost felt like us again. Our therapist refused to let either of us pretend we were passengers. Max lay at our feet, his tail tapping like a metronome for patience. And something unexpected happened. My anger came in waves, but so did clarity. I started to see the choices, small and repeated, that had brought us here. The night I chose emails instead of eye contact. The morning she chose silence instead of messy honesty. The way I kept Caleb in my blind spot, calling him family to avoid harder truths. A month later, the Harbor View called again. Same cheerful voice. Just following up, any feedback from your recent stay? You did nothing wrong, I said. We brought the broken thing with us. Silence. Then softly, I'm sorry for whatever it was. Me too, I answered, and meant it in 100 different ways. Jenna didn't ask for forgiveness like it was a switch. She asked for the chance to rebuild, slowly. She changed her number. She handed me every password. She set boundaries where she had let them blur. We wrote a list on the fridge under a tomato-shaped magnet. Tuesday therapy. Phones down at dinner. One honest thing every day. No kind secrets. Ask before assuming. Some days we checked every box. Some days we missed and tried again. We didn't talk about forever. We talked about the next hour done right. If you're waiting for the twist where I burn his car or file for divorce, here it is. That didn't happen. The twist was smaller, harder. We stayed. We worked. We learned to say, I'm angry without demanding instant repair. We learned betrayal doesn't erase every memory. It stains them. And if you stop scrubbing, eventually the stain fades. Do I trust her the way I once did? No. That trust is gone. Do I trust the person she is now, after turning and facing the wreckage with me? More each week. Do I trust myself more? Yes, because I didn't shatter. I didn't make revenge my religion. I followed the list. I kept my hands clean. If this story gripped you, if you felt that cold recognition, remember this. Not every betrayal ends in fire. Sometimes it ends with two people making coffee at dawn, checking boxes on a fridge, and choosing the next right hour.